Welcome to the Sweet Sides of Fighting instructional channel. James and Ryan here to take you through another part of the series in the triangle choke, but this time we're going to talk about the trifecta between the triangle choke, the armbar, and the omoplata, and how they all connect. One of the philosophies around the triangle choke, the armbar, and the omoplata. So make sure you check the description as well. The private community is there where you can ask Ryan any more questions on these techniques. You can also get your matches broken down. Plus, you get access to all my strength conditioning programs in there. But let's get to it.
Okay, so this is going to be talking about the trifecta between positions. I always say that, and this is just one example, okay? The better people get at jiu-jitsu, you'll start to understand more and more. There's more and more combinations and how things lead into other things, okay? Tunnel vision is always the biggest enemy for beginners, just fixating on one thing, not realizing that there's about 10 other things that can actually happen. Even more so for leg locks when we start talking about leg locks. Eventually we'll do some leg lock stuff, but this is even more prominent with leg locks. But if you can just start considering this idea that whenever you have a particular position, they go with other positions, okay? So in other words, if you have a submission, you'll have two other submissions. So if you find one position, then you have the other three, okay? Or the other two. And this will give you three. And sometimes 4, 5, and 6. You'll have, and it always just keeps going on and on and on. So what I'm going to try to demonstrate here is the trifecta of triangle, armbar, omoplata. Whenever you have an omoplata, you have a triangle and an armbar. Whenever you have a triangle, you have an armbar and an omoplata. You have an armbar, you have a triangle, you have an omoplata. So they all go together. You'll always find these three going together. I can keep going on with this and say whenever you have those, you also have kimura, right? And then with that, when you just go down this rabbit hole, you also have a straight arm. And it just keeps going on and on and on. So, but to start off with, this is a pretty good example, right? And a good thing to learn too, because just so you can understand what's happening. Always remember, like I can't really, I can manipulate and get, the better we get better at controlling the other person, getting them to respond the way I want them to respond. But even, you get really good guys and they're not gonna respond the way you want them to respond. So you need more options. So let's just say I get to a triangle, right? So somehow I achieved the triangle, right? So I got to the triangle and I'm here. I cannot finish the triangle. Well, if it's, let's say I do my turn and everything and I just can't close my legs, right? We talked about this earlier. I can't get this turn, my legs are too short. Well, the simple method here is I have the angle already. Well, his arm's straight across, so I'll just be like, here, boom, I turn, I cup the wrist and boom, and then I crunch out and I go over my shoulder, right, when he starts to stack me. So this will be an armbar. If I get to the triangle, I'm here, and he's like, nope, I'm not doing that. And he wraps, which is a very common response. This will lead us into the reverse triangle, which will be another layer that we could add to this response, to these attacks. But if he wraps his arm here and I just can't pull his arm away from his body, he's a bigger guy, well, the path of least resistance is going to be omoplata. So I'm just going to release, and I'm going to bring my feet in this direction. Sorry. You stomp on your toe?
No,
your hand. Stomped on his fingers. That also helps. So I bring my feet to the floor. Now I'm in omoplata position. If I cannot finish the omoplata position and he starts to posture back up, he postures back up, well, boom, we hit him right back with a triangle. Right? And I start to control his posture. If he goes back to, let's say, he starts to posture on my body here, and I'm like this, and I go, well, I'm going to switch, and I'm going to go to the armbar. All right? He gets here, he wraps his arm back around right here, and I'm switching back to omoplata. He comes back, lifts up, boom, hit him back with a triangle, boom, hit him with an armbar. Right? This is a method of attacking based on very common responses, right? The more you do jiu-jitsu, you start to see patterns, okay? The most common responses, and you're gonna see those responses over and over and over and over and over. And these responses will lead you into other positions. And the more comfortable and the quicker you realize how these positions move into other technically submissions, the more efficient and effective your game becomes. You become more advanced. I will say that the more, just so we can touch on this a little bit, the more advanced, if you watch two advanced guys go at it, you'll typically you'll hear this all the time, like jiu-jitsu is a game of inches. Certainly is, you could even say half inches. But really, a lot of people forget about the timing, okay? So jiu-jitsu technically, on another level, is about timing. And the best way I can explain that is if you take two really good black belts, right? They equally know they know equally all the moves. A lot of times it's just about timing. Fraction of a second makes all the difference, right? You will have, those, uh, when you watch some of these advanced guys go, you can clearly see if there is an imbalance in skill, right? But if you take two equally skilled people and you put them together, it's typically going to be timing, and then what you'll also have to look for is energy levels. Okay, so who is burning out of energy faster than the other person? What this technically means is who's being more efficient than the other. Okay. You watch the best in the world train, let's say Gordon Ryan and guys like this, when they're actually in an actual match, you don't see this like frantic, thing. You see an extreme understanding of position, an extreme understanding of timing. And because they understand that, everything becomes much more efficient, and so you conserve the maximum amount of energy. Okay. So I kind of went on a rant there, but this is important when we're talking about these using things in combination, because I could be doing all this stuff and doing all great, but if the guy's at a higher skill level than I am, let's say I'm a blue belt and he's a brown belt, and I'm like, hey, Ryan's to do all these combinations of things, and you start doing it, and then he just gets out, and then you get your guard pass. Well, that could be one of trying to get this reduce space and try to get learn the technique better. Or it could be just a timing issue. You may know the technique perfectly fine, but the timing is not there, or maybe the setup wasn't good, or maybe he's just at a higher level. So when you're doing this, just consider those other things too, right? It does matter who you're actually going against, right? So like I said, a brand new person comes in, you can nail all this stuff, no problem, right? But we're actually training to actually use this against people who are very skilled. But in understanding the trifecta, attacking positions and combinations of things, and understanding those positions that go together is critical. Another example of this would be, when you're on the side control and you have somebody Kimura, Americana, and straight arm. I call it the ABCs because it's essentially the first thing you're going to learn when you first start jiu-jitsu in a certain way is Kimura, Americana, straight arm from side control position. It's the same thing. We're just doing it from our back from guard. These go together. They will always go together. So try to take your mindset into not fixating on one thing, trying to finish that armbar, because I understand that James is good. So I know that he's just not going to let me armbar him. So I need to already have in mind, based on his response, if I'm going to hit him back with a triangle or hit him with an omoplata, right? So consider that when you're actually starting to do these moves, and consider that universally throughout your jiu-jitsu, thinking of things in combinations. It should improve your game.
Should we show them from the other angle as well?
Yeah.
Just do the same side.
Yep. So we have a soft lock triangle here, and I'm doing a good job controlling the posture. I can't get it. He's stacking me or whatever. I start getting stacked, and I'm like, I can't get my legs locked. There's no way. Well, I'm going to go to an armbar. Boom. I'm going to crunch down, finish the armbar. He starts to posture out of this armbar. I'm going to hit him back with a triangle. He wraps this arm around. I'm going to frame him out, hit him with an omoplata. He starts to get his posture back. Boom, I hit him back with a triangle. Control his posture. I switch back, go for the armbar. He rips that back. Boom, go to the omoplata. Okay, so we can go on and on with this, just this trifecta, right? One of these positions is going to stick, okay? It's not necessarily going to finish it maybe, but one of these positions, there's going to be a moment to where you have an opportunity to actually finish it, okay? Now, whether you do or not depends on, again, the skill level of both people. But simply, my point to get across here is to change the mindset. The mindset of, just doing one thing and fixating on one thing. There's one thing to be tenacious with something and finish it, right? If I have a full-on armbar and it's locked in, I'm not looking to switch to another position. I'm going to finish the armbar. But if I feel like there's in these in-between points, and he's still defending, and I still have not reduced the space that I should have reduced, and he's able to still defend, I'm looking to transition to another position, okay? And not burn out my energy, just doing one thing and chasing one thing, which can also end in disaster, because you just chase one thing, and it can be turned on you, right? Or you can get your guard passed or whatever it may be. So the trifecta is a good way. It's more of a mindset thing, I would say, to really, when you're doing jiu-jitsu, to kind of escape that tunnel vision that you may have and just chasing one thing, right? And then, of course, it is true. The positions all go hand in hand, right? Triangle, omoplata, armbar. All three will go together. If you have one, you have all three.